I think of making online games as much more as creating a setting. You're creating a playground, a sandpit, whatever analogy you want to use. Sometimes I think of it as a nightclub. You make it cool, you have good music, you have fun things to do, you have good drinks, and then you open the doors and people come in and they have fun. So it becomes more of an exercise of, what are the pieces going to be? What is perhaps, the central part of the game, and what are the extra bits around it? What do we really need to keep people interested for a good period of time? Puzzle Pirates development went in kind of two halves. The first half was getting the core basics of the game together, and then the second half was adding a lot of the depth and complexity and player-driven content and owning islands and running shops and trading and so on that would give people, once they'd kind of got used to the core game, give people something to engage in over a very long term, and most importantly, to engage in with other players. So your crew would do things together. I think the other thing that's worth mentioning at that point is the business model of these games tends to be perhaps more closely embedded than certainly in the traditional packaged goods industry when you just sell a box and put it on the shelf. You do need to think about how are people going to fund these ongoing costs of server operations and so on. So you generally, by and large, not exclusively want some sort of persistent recurring income. We've done a lot of innovation in this area, and I think it's dangerous in some ways to try to graft different business models onto existing games, although we've been lucky and that's worked for us. And a kind of common maxim in the games industry is to make sure the business model is, you understand the business model as an integral part of the game design, and certainly that's increasingly seen as the right way to create successful free-to-play games. I have some time for that. I think you do need to, and we've certainly made mistakes where we haven't considered it strongly enough. But it's not something that I personally would prefer that not to be the core competency of a game designer. I think that making reasonable amounts of money from people is obviously a good part of being a successful business, but it shouldn't be the destination point, and it shouldn't be what you're aiming for above all else.